Your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio.
Metro League High School sports are back.
Here's Jordan. Makes a stutter step inside, breaks a tackle. He's off and running. He's going to take it all the way.
Join Rainier Avenue Radio, your home team for Metro League football, basketball, baseball, girls soccer, track and field, bowling, and even more than that. We got you. Watch Metro League High School sports on Rainier Avenue Radio via Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. You can listen in right at our website, rainieravenueradio.world, or download our app for free to listen and watch.
The punt is blocked and the spin up. Right number.
Metro League High School Sports 2021 on rainieravenueradio.world, powered by the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle, King County for Culture, and the Seattle Mariners.
Kind of nonsense conversation we're having here.
The Neon Ghost Show. Right here on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Right about now.
Rainier Avenue Radio.world. I'm so tired. I have to pee.
This is Mondo Bancaro from Mondo's World. We will be discussing some interesting subjects. Sometimes I might even have some guests. So please listen to my show on Rainier Avenue Radio.
The Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle, empowering communities and changing lives. The Urban League has been there to serve when our community is at its lowest. It's never mattered what the crisis was. The systemic oppression remains constant for those most vulnerable. Here at the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle, we'll be temporarily adjusting our hours of operation and available services. If you are in need of resources, we recommend that you give us a call at 206-461-3792. To make an appointment, press 0 and speak with the receptionist. Walk-in hours will be from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. And hey, we'll gladly work with you via phone as best as we can if you're exhibiting any signs of illness to assist you with information to save your home, find you a place to sleep, or connect you to job opportunities. The Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle. That's 206-461-3792.
This is Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
All right, here we are. It is high noon on Thursday. That's right, Thursday, high noon, and this is Seattle Sports Weekly. I'm Mazvita Maraire, your host, and we are live. And it took something for us to be live today, but here we are. We got a big show, and he should be joining us, Lars Hanson, as soon as he gets on, and as soon as he pops on, which he did. And well, Lars, let me just start with this. How is the Lars Manor? I mean, since last week, you did the whole like remodel and put a deck out looking the water, and just since you missed the show because of Lars Manor was being rebuilt, how are the digs?
It's nice, we actually replaced all but one of the windows, and so it's not as drafty in here. We got, I think in about a couple weeks or so, we got the blinds coming in, but thankfully that won't be on a Thursday. So there's just a little bit of reconstruction going on here. It's finally that time of the year. It's always summertime when you want to start redecorating things. We got a little garden going outside, trying to resod some grass too. Just got a lot of things going on, Maz. It's a temple you got to build every day, right?
Yeah, well, absolutely. A lot going on. Spring. It is spring, and that is the time for, as you said, the gardening and everybody, spring clean and getting ready for the summer barbecues and whatnot. So, yeah, well, yeah, that. Have you, Lars? I can't see myself. Can you? There you go. Yeah, exactly. So he's the one that's frozen. So as usual, I mean, it is the Wi-Fi age. So we're gonna have the glitches here and there, this and that. So the explanation in terms of why we were is, look, you guys have to understand. I mean, one of the things that makes us unique is that we do cover the sports. You know, we cover the sports, and we're part of the press corps, the live press corps with the teams. And so that means that if there's something going on, we very well can get this, hey, this is happening tomorrow. And most of the time, it doesn't conflict with the show, right? It usually lines up real nicely, you know. And let's just say that something was happening with the Seahawks. Not that it was a big, huge deal or breaking thing, but it was going to affect the show. So, and it was last minute. And let me tell you, when the Seahawks called, you jump over the hoops, you do your whole kind of backflip, front flip, and all that stuff. Because there's certain places they will access. They'll say, hey, you're available to go here. And it's not, you know, not everybody gets that invite. You know, when you get the VIP, you know, you do not want to be like, oh, I don't have anything to wear. I'll sit. No. Off you go. So anyways, and then it worked out well. So the Seahawks start the mini camp. Well, actually, they do not. They are in their third phase. And that they were going to, here's the point. They were going to have their practice this morning. But to give you an inside side perspective, you guys, the Seahawks have the VMAC outside, right? And so what you have there is, I think some of you have been there. If you've been there, once you're in the complex, they have a huge field going north and south. And then they have another field, it's connected, that goes east and west. So that, you know, and then it's so beautiful. Then the water's right there. But that's how kind of, if you went into the VMAC and when they practice. So you can just imagine how they configure the various practices, and training camp will be open to the audience, y'all. So word on that. Some of you have gone to training camp, and you know that they move the players around depending on the drills, and all NFL teams are this way. So then they can do multiple drills. You know, they do the team drill, team stretch on the big one, and then they'll go to positional. You know, it's basic stuff. In terms of any sports, right? Just with the NFL, it's just intensified and magnified because of the players and with precision. So the point is this: they are so aware in terms and keep track of the weather patterns. So the Seahawks have an indoor bubble, right? A whole other field that's indoors, and normally they use that one. Bad weather. And also they'll use that for the walkthroughs. And it's just there to protect the athletes. So they moved the practice indoors today. That's the long and short of it. And the reason why was because the rain affected the turf. Not that it was so bad that they couldn't stand on it. But think about it. This is how much they do their homework and pay attention. There's some scale, some measurement that if it's X amount of rain falls, then it becomes somewhat dangerous in terms of a slip or something that can affect an athlete practicing. There it is. That's it.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny about that though? As you were saying that, I was thinking both of how UW does that with the Dempsey, but also how teams like in Arizona have to do that because it's so hot. So when it gets to like 100, 105, 110 degrees, they actually have to go inside and do an air conditional facility. And you got like the other 28 teams that are just like, we're okay. We got practice at some like middle school in the middle of nowhere. It's okay. Like Foxborough does like whatever. And, so the Seahawks, I feel like the West Coast has got that unique little bit of touch there when it comes to sports.
No, absolutely. So the geographical setting of the country and how the weather affects it. So obviously, if you're in Alabama and those things, we'll take the college as well. But yeah, so then the weather, right? One is the heat, so you got to move in. One is the cold, so you got to move in. And I wouldn't necessarily say cold, but as much as the moisture and how that affects that. But the point is that every little thing. The NFL teams pay so much attention in terms of how it affects the players' well-being, health, and safety. So when they do that, we press can't go watch them practice because it's inside. And right now, it's still the COVID type of thing. So but have no fear because we are Seattle Sports Weekly, and we did get invited to the press conference at 2:00 today. So we'll have a little bit of audio for you for next week, as we always do. And speaking of that, we got plenty of audio today because just like last week, the potpourri, the dim sum, the gumbo, we got all kinds of stuff going on. And Lars, I've got one for you. I've got a couple for you, but I don't know if you saw this, and we'll talk about it later. But you are one that there is the new the AP story about the college athletes' right to organize. Right, a bill came out today. There's a bill by there's a bill in Congress, and that he is actually the Democrats are putting out there this bill to look at whether allowing college athletes to organize. So it's actually Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat of Connecticut. Yeah. And so we'll talk that on the later on the other side there. But the Seahawks, so they are now they're doing the third phase of their preseason. Right, phase one was the rookie camp, and we talked about that. And then now they're in the later part of the OTA off-season workouts. And they had them last week, May 24th. And so they're allowed to go May 24th, 26th, 27th. And then they go June 1, take the day off on the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, 7th to the 10th. And then, again, these are they can organize, but and they do have some drills here in terms of 9-on-9 and no 11-on-11, but they do 9-on-9, and I think there's no hitting, that's for sure. And then let me finish this thought, and then they'll have what everybody awaits for, the mandatory June 15th to the 17th. That's the mini camp, and that one is mandatory. And all of y'all that are trying to figure out what's going on, that's when you can begin to say, okay, is Aaron Rodgers going to show up for Green Bay? What happened? So you now want to start looking. Seahawks don't have any issues in terms of any unsigned players. What you want to look at is the KJ Wright, right? So you around June, so in a few days you start seeing player movement and those kinds of things, because that's just when teams are trying to kind of get ready. Jamal Adams. And so all those kinds of things are the play movements, because they're trying to get ready for the mini camp. And then, of course, there's the training camp that starts in July, and that's when it's for real. So gives you an update and kind of where we're going. But really, in terms of the Seahawks, real quickly, now look, Seahawks have their preseason. Yeah, I don't know. They announced the games: Las Vegas at Vegas, Saturday, August 14th, and Denver Broncos, Saturday, August 21st. The Vegas game, 6 p.m. So you could, depending on what you do, what you like to do, you could, I don't know, do some entertaining in the morning in Vegas. What kind of entertainment is that? Go watch the game. I'm not one to promote gambling, but anyways, there you go. And then Denver Broncos. These are the times have now been announced. The days were there, but August Broncos here. It's a 7 p.m. game on a Saturday. And this is a new one. The Chargers at home here, 7 p.m. They don't usually play the Chargers. And it'll be interesting because who's their quarterback?
Justin Herbert, former Oregon.
There you go. There you go. So quack, quack. So a little bit of a this, that, and the other, It's what's great when you get a guy that covers the college. You can always kind of throw it to him. So that'll be an interesting note. But that's really where they're at in terms of the whole Seahawks and what's up. Well, stop. Lars.
Yes.
Are you bought in on the Mariners? So, they beat the Athletics 2 of 3, right?
I mean, the confidence meter in those 2 wins is not very high. I mean, again, a win's a win. You take it. But it's much like in football when you say, like, okay, did you squeak out that victory? Is this team going to be an actual contender, or did they just happen to win 2 games and win a series, but they're not actually contenders? I feel like more of the latter is still the case. Jared Kalenic is starting to get going a little bit, but again, it's always going to be the pitching staff with this team, and they have no pitching. Pitching.
Marco Gonzalez looks like, he might return. I think Justin Dunn is, playing, pitching, learning. It didn't help that the whole bullpen basically was out with COVID. Right?
I mean, can we just appreciate the fact that the Mariners, and the reason why they're in that position in the first place, is they're one of the few teams in the city who's going to take the other side of the stand? I mean, to each their own, to be very clear, to each their own. But I just find it ironic the Seahawks go through an entire season and don't have one positive case. UW makes it almost all the way through the season and then falls apart. The Mariners can't even get out of May. What does that tell you?
What you trying to say?
Okay. I'm going to bring it back to you because you had the tweet when Kevin Mather was forced to exit stage right, and you said, is there going to be any organizational change? What did that tell you? And how much change has it really been? I mean, I don't see anything totally different. Again, Kevin Mather and Jerry DiPoto and all those Kevin Martinez, totally opposite, great people. I'm not saying that the organization isn't fine, but nothing has really changed in the sense of the actual mentality of the organization, in my opinion.
Well, I don't get what you're saying. I mean, I do and I don't, which is nothing new. That's what's great. This is what makes our show.
You can figure half it a little bit. It's kind of because I'm at the ultimate to each their own. You can't force someone, much like you can't force a college student to get a vaccination. You can't force anybody to get a vaccination. But I kind of question whether when you have a bulk of your team on the other side of the coin and then your bullpen blows up. Like, I'm not, again, let them stand kind of in their own bracket. But just to me, the Seahawks didn't have this issue at all. And again, vaccines weren't a thing back then, but it's the structure of the organization, the mentality of the whole process of it. And to me, it's just, I find it you can say the bullpen blows up with COVID and you can't really control that. But at this point, you can control it a little more than they are. And that's what I'm trying to say.
I don't look. I think there's 2 issues there. I think you're collapsing 2 big issues that are there, and we can unclash them and have that discussion. Remember you are a Lake Show fan, aren't you? Don't lest you forget that the UW did have COVID.
Yeah, so that's what I said. They made it all the way through the season and then fell apart. And fell apart because of the COVID but that was also when you had everyone go back for Thanksgiving and the players hadn't seen their families. And so when you kind of
I unadmissible in the court, Your Honor. We are just looking in terms of did UW players get COVID? All right. So right.
And so Seahawks didn't.
Okay, and okay, so boom, retract that from the record. You're looking at a guy that reads a lot of I give myself the pleasure to read John Grisham books. That's what I read before I go to mindless jury stuff. So strike that from the record, Your Honor. We talk about books sometimes, but anyways, let's get back on here in terms of you're such a Lake fan is too much for me. But anyways, protecting. I mean, do you protect the organization, protect the team? I mean, you went to Wazoo. Anyways, look.
Business is business. Business is business. I mean, you could have your alma mater, and you can separate work and personal and business.
I don't know if you're separating it because I'm saying you done sold out. You done sold out. That's what I'm saying. Man, you got the purple going on.
To be fair, it is the Ravens. So there we go.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. You see what our guy Eric Metcalf tweeted today?
I didn't. What he tweeted? You
see what? Oh no, he's so crazy. He's over at Jim Brown's house, and along with what's his name from the Ravens, who's the best linebacker that's ever played for the Ravens.
Ray Lewis.
Yeah. If you look at this, he's like.
You lead it out with the greatest linebacker for the Ravens, but that's not the name. Everyone's got to know Ray Lewis. Come on.
Yes, but he's a Jim Brown. So I was just trying to tie the Baltimore Ravens. But thank you, because I did overstep it. I mean, who does not know Jim Brown? But that's just our guy. He's like, oh, by the way, I'm spending the day over here with the greatest football player ever, and him, Jim Brown. I'm like, really? Yes. So, and then you've got a Baltimore Ravens shirt on. So, anyways, let's bring us back to this thing with the Mariners. You know what? I actually applaud the Mariners in terms of, look, I think to your point, I'm collapsing them, right? I think organizationally, all right, I'll bite. I think organizationally, they could have done better. I applaud them for not softly telling the players you have to get vaccinated, right? That's great. No team, nobody does that, right? So that's what I applaud them. To your point, I do in that, then as an organization, and I had a big discussion with Steve Kelly about this, and a couple of people, because I thought some journalists wrote kind of the typical white, I ain't gonna lie, the typical white, like, well, they should have done this, and they ain't done nothing. You know what I mean? It's a health, well-being issue. You don't know why they didn't take that. You know what I mean? And I don't want to go into, but I think the couple of the articles that were written, who wrote them, and all that kind of thing. And I just said, there you go. That's typical. There you go. Okay, fine. Let's move on. But the discussion I had with Steve Kelly and others, and to your point is, if you can make them, and you shouldn't, but you should then have said, all right, here's what we're going to have you do. We're going to have you quarantine at a hotel. You know what I mean? And so we're not going to have you you're going to be in a bubble, basically. Just the example you gave in terms of the UW players, right? And they were in a bubble. They really were until they went to Thanksgiving and whatnot. So I think as organizationally, you're right. I mean, I think you got to be forward thinking on that, right? Yeah. Okay, yeah. You guys, we're not going to imprison you. That's not what we're saying. But let's meet. Let's talk about this. You know what I mean? Do your thing. We'll put you up at a hotel and all of this stuff, and from practice to games, just like it was before, right? Because I think baseball was the first one to actually, remember when they did the 40-game season? And the way, so you already have precedence on how to handle that situation.
Yeah. There's no reason. There's no excuse to not at least put some thought into it. Again, to your point, you can't force A, B, and C, but you can do D and at least have a happy medium. And the fact that they're not doing that, to me, is where I kind of fall off the train.
You all right, whatever. You haven't been on the train. So let me. You never got on the train. You saw leave the train station, and you were like, deuces. I'm taking the stagecoach, whatever. So here's the deal: is that wrap this up because we got Scott Service. We had a little bit from Scott Service. We haven't talked about the Mariners for quite a while here, and so yeah, to your point, they won 2 of 3. They lost yesterday, and they take on the Texas Rangers. They take them on 4 games, and then they've got the Athletics 3 games. So it's a 7-game homestand. And the Mariners have been on the road for a while. It's they were May 17th, and they come back. So that's their home, and then so they did the Padres. So point is this: I think this is critical, Lars. This is the point where the Mariners, this 7-game homestand, I think is going to be critical because the euphoria, the novelty of fans going in and the vaccinated sections and woo, let's go. That was fun. That was good. But now you got to win. So, let's hear from Scott Service. Let's just hear what he said about the Oakland Athletics homestand.
Okay, yeah, we'll get going. Obviously, coming in the ball game, knowing that we were going to be a little thin on pitching, you're hoping that Duggar could get us a little bit deeper. But he actually, I thought he threw the ball okay. Oakland's very patient, and they did grind some at bats against him, and wasn't maybe as sharp as we've seen him in the past. After that, I thought, Mills struggled a little bit again, command wise, and against this team, you have to throw strike one. The other guys, I thought. Good inning for Miz today. We need to get him back on track again. And, we're down 6-0 in that game and really could have cashed it in. I thought our guys had some good at-bats late in the game. Obviously, Caprillion shut us down. We had the traffic there in the 4th inning and wasn't able to get a big 2-out hit to get us back into the game at that point. But, we put pressure on them late. I really felt good about Jared up there against Diekman and knowing that Haney was up behind him. But Jared probably had one of the most unlucky games you can have offensively. Probably should have had 2 or 3 hits today, but nothing to show for it. So, again, we went 2 out of 3 here coming out of San Diego. It's a good series for us, just up a little short today.
Scott, you kind of just touched on it just now, and we've talked about it for the past couple of days, but given the way Jared's making contact right now, does that kind of suggest to you that he is just, a step away from having some legitimate, tangible results here?
Oh, he really is. Like I said, he very easily could have had 2 or 3 hits today. They make plays. That's what the big leagues is about. The defense is a heck of a lot better than this in the minor leagues. But the quality of at-bats for Jared are very good. He just needs to stick there, and they will eventually fall in. There's no question about that.
How tough was Caprillion against you guys today with all the first pitch strikes and, kind of the new guy?
There we go. We cut him short because I think it's going to be the ongoing. Scott Service sounded like he had a cold, didn't he?
Yeah, he's a tired guy. I think that's the difference between having a cold and just being hard work, 20-hour a day guy.
Yeah. No, he's speaking of pom-poms and all those things, and I'm a Scott Service kind of guy, so yes, I do. I think he's an interesting situation. So to see what happens, as we said, 7 games here, and then do you keep him? You know what I mean? It'll be very interesting. I think
you're happy if you can win 4 out of 7. Now you should win. If you're a team who's trying to actually take winning seriously, you're winning 5 of 7. But the Mariners are probably going to win 3 of 7.
Yeah, and let me go back because I was vague in terms of Scott Service. I meant towards the end of the season, like what did they have to finish? Because I do think that this is kind of their. This is it. This is where this is the halfway point in their season, so to speak. And this is where we get to see what kind of manager he is. I think you keep him, but I guess I'm asking you, well, fair enough to say I think this is the evaluation going on. Or do you think it's too early for all that at the end of this season.
Yeah, there's no way you can justifiably get rid of Service given what he's been given. Like, I mean, now after next season, you would kind of hope that next season is the one where, okay, the young core has now had their year this year to get the experience. So the next year you can say, hey, this is the year we should make the playoffs and start to build our future forward and take the next 2 or 3 steps. And so if after next season, or even in July, if it's not looking too good, that's when you really start to say, okay, maybe we should move on from Service, but not after the season.
Fair enough. They will play deep into September, and quick glance at the schedule sees them close out their season September 27, 28, 29. And, maybe there'll be some, maybe there, you just don't know. You just don't know. What we do know is we're up on break. And so we're going to go on break. We're going to come back, talk a little bit of Storm, and hear from Sue Bird. And then we'll go this NCAA thing. And this is Seattle Sports Weekly. I'm Mazvita Maraire. We're going on break. We'll be right back.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not translating the lyrics of Boogie Oogie Oogie for bored Europeans, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio .world.
Country Doctor and Carolyn Downs Community Health Centers want you to protect yourself and your loved ones by offering free Moderna or Johnson & Johnson vaccinations. If you are 18 years of age or older, come down on Wednesdays from 1 to 4 p.m. to the McKinney Center, 2120 South Jackson Street, for your vaccination. You don't need an appointment or ID or insurance. For information, call 206-709-7198. This message brought to you by Country Doctor, Carolyn Downs Community Health Centers, and as a public service by Rainier Avenue Radio .world.
This is Big Poppy, host of Jazz from the Cabinets. Join me each week for a listening tour of the first century of jazz, an eclectic mix of Dixieland, big band, cool jazz, bebop, contemporary jazz, world jazz, all jazz in all forms. That's Jazz from the Cabinets with Big Poppy on Rainier Avenue Radio, streaming worldwide on RainierAvenueRadio.world.
Lock in fresh juice with the newest hip-hop and R&B.
Every Wednesday night from 9 to 11 p.m.
on Rainier Avenue Radio. You know we got the dopest artists rocking with us every single week. It's myself, D-Money.
Taylor Hart.
And Pint Size Patron. This is Fresh Juice every Wednesday. It's Trilltopia.
The Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle, empowering communities and changing lives. The Urban League has been there to serve when our community is at its lowest. It's never mattered what the crisis was. The systemic oppression remains constant for those most vulnerable. Here at the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle, we'll be temporarily adjusting our hours of operation and available services. If you are in need of resources, we recommend that you give us a call at 206-461-3792. To make an appointment, press 0 and speak with the receptionist. Walk-in hours will be from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. And hey, we'll gladly work with you via phone as best as we can if you're exhibiting any signs of illness to assist you with information to save your home, find you a place to sleep, or connect you to job opportunities. The Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle. That's 206-461-3792.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Check us out on social media. Facebook and Instagram, Rainier Avenue Radio.world, and on Twitter at Rainier Ave Radio.
All right, we're back for the second half of Seattle Sports Weekly. I'm Mazvita Maraire. He's Lars Hanson. And so, indeed, thanks for hanging around, brother. You good?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
well, here we go. Because we're going to kind of do our usual here, there, and there. I did forget to mention that the NFL has now outlawed blocking below the waist are prohibited following by players of either team after a change of possession or by players of the kicking team after free kick, safety, kick, fair catch, kick, punt, field goal attempt, or try kicks. So there you go.
Honestly, before we get into the rest of this, I'm just going to, as you were saying all of that, the thought that came to my head was this is why soccer is going to eventually still be the ultimate premium sport, because all you got to do is kick a ball and explain offsides. That's really all you got to do. Yeah, because you're never going to be able to explain what a foul is in soccer, because it's between the yellow card and red card, how do you get it, all this stuff. But it's a lot easier to explain than some of this stuff. So
I'd flip the script, but there you go. I mean, I think the verbiage. There you go. I think look at D Money. He's actually getting. See, there you go. See. There we go. Look at that.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, but I mean that should always be outlawed. Much like if you're going down and you slide tackle some guy, that's obviously it's outlawed in soccer, but it still happens. I mean, and so I think it's good that the NFL is again taking all these steps. They've always been doing stuff with the concussions to try and make the game a little safer and safer. But I mean, at some point, how about we talk about the officiating on the field actually being of higher quality versus just focusing, hey, let's not penalize, let's take away this out of the game. It's like, how about we put into the game better officiating and just leave it there?
Really?
Dude, what do you expect? I mean, it's the Pac-12. It's all bad officiating is just naturally in me.
Yeah, it is. And it's funny because I had this is where me and our guy Eric Metcalf were tweeting back and forth about that, and he was talking about the whole officiating and all of those things, and I'm like, basketball officials never get credit, or any officials for that point. So, hey, well, just to close out the NFL low block, it makes a lot of sense, the safety thing. Now, to open up what you're talking about in terms of, I don't think people realize by the time somebody gets to ref a game, there's so many steps, so many evaluations, so much film, so much in terms of people evaluating your calls at every level. Like, it takes years of training, of camps, of off season to get to that level. And so the listening of so what happened was they needed a ref and they went down to 7-Eleven and some guy was getting a cherry Slurpee, and they said, what are you doing for the next few hours? And dude's like, I don't know, we'll bring you and your homie down here, we got these stripes, we'll pay you cash. No, that's not quite how it goes. It's not quite how it goes. You have to earn that. And when you are, and don't forget, and tonight when we get on the on Metro Sports Week with Pat, we won't talk too much about officiating, but don't bring it up because you've got two people that are advocates of officiating, by the way. So we will have Metro Sports Weekly tonight. Lars is going to do a double, and actually on that one, tune in because he's actually going to talk about recruitment and what's going on in the high school level. Multi-talented guy. But I think what makes it, to your point, and what's great about this is they're trying to simplify the rules in the NFL. And the more they do that, the better, the more efficient the officials can be in terms of the rule interpretation.
That's fair, and I'm glad that they're doing that. However, again, playing devil's advocate, can you define targeting without having to look it up?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, but I believe you can. But my point is, it's kind of one of those things where there's always going to be a gray area, and it's just how much can you alleviate the gray area? And I think that's what I'm saying in terms of making sure that the officials are just either maybe in the right position, or maybe just help the officials, empower the officials more. Maybe that, and that's kind of what they're doing. With replay and things like that, you want to empower, not decredit the officials, because you're always going to need officials, right? You're not gonna. You always want to have that human element, but you want to make sure that they're doing their job to the best of their ability with as much kind of ease as possible.
The only person that's discrediting officials is you. It's people like you. You and the Chris Fetters that come on and say, "Oh yeah, it's as soon and you know, and Frosty, you know what I'm saying?" I mean, the minute you say Pac-12, the first thing that comes to well, two things. It used to be the commissioner's a schmuck, right? He's gone, so you can't say anything. But the go-to is always bad officiating, which is absolutely not true. It actually is not true. There's just plays that the untrained eye looks at and goes, how many times have I sat in the press box with you and go, that's not, you're like, yes, you know it's not, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, you know, you got to understand the call. And so the officials are fine. I think the simplification of the game is there. There'll always be a judgment call. That's what you want on the officials, right? Here's the rule, the interpretation. And if you want to judge an official, don't judge him on one play, judge him on the body of work, the consistency. That's the key.
Absolutely, but I think also to your point, also allow the official to be able to make the decision, make the call on the field, and then if it happens to be the wrong call, allow a way to kind of like how there's kind of what's supposed to be VAR in soccer, where you know, hey, let's make the call on the field and then go look at it. Make the call, then go look at it. So I think the combination of simplifying it will allow easier calls on the field, and then the replay won't be such an issue.
Yeah, and I think that's where they're going. I mean, I think it's but there's just people that are innate and are always going to say that, hey, you know what, it's a bad call, and that's okay because that's a passionate response to it.
Yeah.
But to have it as an ongoing, as your mission statement, I think is just ridiculous. You know what I mean? I mean, and you know that.
Oh yeah.
All right. So there's just a prevailing. So the Seattle Storm. You watching any of these games, or?
I mean, I'm hearing they're doing good. I haven't been able to watch a ton of them, but I'm hearing they're doing good.
Well, I mean, it's okay not to. I mean, you've got you got a lot going on. I guess that's my point. So, yeah, they are. I mean, they are playing some really good basketball, and yet their team hasn't really been together. I mean, Epiphany Prince just came on. And you know, they really added some new players, and in this mixing, the chemistry is still not there, and yet the Storm are 4-1, and they played some of the Las Vegas Aces, who is the pick, to win, everybody's pick to win the championship, and so they played them here. They won one game, lost the other, but they also, the Storm did. The last game they beat Minnesota. I'm sorry, they beat Connecticut, who was undefeated. And so, Sue Bird comes back, but, Jordan, Canada comes back. But other than that, Jewel Lloyd, obviously, and, the top player right now, she's second in scoring, Brianna Stewart, is the other. But, I mean, you're really looking at, them bringing in new players and trying to mix and yet still winning. So why don't we go to Noelle Quinn? She sat in for Storm assistant coach. She sat in for Dan Hughes. This is a post game because Dan Hughes, how cool is this? He missed the game because his son was graduating from the Naval Academy. That's awesome. Isn't that awesome?
And he made the correct decision to you only get one shot at that graduation. She can fill in.
Absolutely. So here we go. Here's Noelle Quinn, and I think we got a little something from Sue Bird as well, the GOAT.
In the right direction, as Coach Dan likes to say, and we're finding ways to win, and it's not quite what we want it to be yet, and it doesn't feel like how we want it to feel yet. We added so many key pieces to our roster, and that takes time. Like what we've seen the last few years, that was like a culmination of just time, whether it's training camp, whether it's seasons going through the ups and downs of that. It just needs that time. And we are on a crash course right now. We are on an expedited speed journey right now, and we're asking some players who haven't been in our system to really step into roles that maybe they hadn't played in previous teams, but these are huge roles for us. And I think that these women are doing a great job of taking the responsibility of being professional and giving what they have. And again, it's early and we're finding ways to win. It's going to be interesting to see when we have some practice time, when we have more time to kind of just focus on the things that we need to get better at. It's going to be very interesting to see where we are at that point. Yeah, they're very long, right? Their guard defenders are very aggressive. They're in passing lanes, but they're very solid as well. Like, they don't gamble a lot. You don't see a lot of trapping. What you see is solid one-on-one defense, and then what they do well is finish plays. They rebound the ball, so you're limited to one possession. They're a very good transition defensive team. So, I mean, to get 26 fast break points for us, that was huge as well. I think really, honestly, they're just a solid defensive team. You see, they're tough in their front line. They're aggressive. Their backcourt and what they do. You see, they slow the game down. They're kind of last in pace, right? And we get in a point where the game is a little bit slowed, and because of that, we were trying to focus on running more. But to score 90 on a team that is just all around solid, rebounding and defending, it's a testament to our players and what we have, and what we've cultivated and how our system is. But also, we're not where we want to be quite yet offensively, and so again, this is a good baseline for us and a good starting point. Connecticut is a very solid team, a very good team.
I got to a little slow start, trying to see what they were doing. I mean, they were high hedging with me and trying to get the ball out of my hands, but luckily I have really smart teammates that slip open and things like that. But, I just try to stay with it, be present on both ends of the floor. I know I could get it going once I see the ball going a couple of times. And so just trying to get to my spots. I think, I'm really frustrated that I missed my free throw. I hate missing free throws. So I got to be better at that end. But just trying to stay active. But I'm active. I think that's when I'm at my best.
Yeah, we got the ball in. Basically what we talked about in the timeout was, tie ball game, 14 seconds or so, whatever it was left. We're either winning or we're going to overtime. So we kind of established that. So I executed it. I'm joking. We just wanted to get me and Stewie in a flare screen and see if we could, mess them up a little bit. They actually put DeWanna Bonner on me. So right away, I kind of had an idea that this was going to be a switching scenario, which it was. And then I had John Cole Jones. I think by the time I got the ball, there was like 3 or 4 seconds. And, I was going to just like throw it up, to be honest. But out of the corner of my eye, I saw Steph cut. And I tried to get her the ball, and it was just one of those scenarios. She basically curled towards the basket, whereas I thought she was coming more towards me. So it was just a misread on my part. But like I said, we really were trying to either win or go to overtime. We weren't going to give them a chance. So I was disappointed because I thought had I gotten her the ball, she might have been able to get it up on the rim and given us a chance. But it didn't work out that way, and sometimes it doesn't. I've played in so many games where I've played really poorly. But, at the end, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you've hit 10 shots in a row, if you've missed 10 shots in a row. There's always the next one, and that's the one that matters. So even though, early in the game I couldn't hit, even really like middle and late, it's not like I was on fire by any means, but it was a new 5 minutes. It was a new game. So you just go out there and play it. And I was able to get a little more open than I had throughout the entire 40 minutes. And at that point, you just want to, shoot them and really not change anything. Just shoot them the way you've always been shooting them.
There you go. Super. Just wanted to play that kind of the inner, the champions there. And, and we hear that all the time, Lars. I mean, in terms of, you forget your last shot. Right. And it's the shot that you're now taking. And that's the key in terms of winning and being great. And in terms of winning and being great, So here you go. Let me, because I really want to kind of hear on the backdrop is this whole. So the Pac-12 announced, right, the schedule, the home and away schedule. Basketball, we're switching to basketball now, and has the UW, speaking of winning, done enough? Take me through from adding 2 assistant coaches and some of the players. Are you on the train, or are you in the Lars? You're sitting there at the train station and throwing them up?
No, I mean, I've been on this train for over a year and a half now, where there was changes that needed to be made on the bench in more ways than one. Not just with coaches, but with players. And this offseason was a roster purge, and it was a necessary one. And Hopkins has done exactly what he needed to do. He brought back Dejon Davis from Stanford, transfer. He's going to be basically a senior grad transfer. So you get a senior scorer to pair with Jamal Bay. Emmett Matthews comes in from West Virginia. So you now have another bench 3 or 4, and you pair with Langston Watson, who's a former Alabama signee, JUCO power forward, 4-star, big-time number 4 recruit. Plays the 4, I should say, not number 4 recruit, but plays the 4. And there's a couple other guys that UW is still looking at. They also added PJ Fuller, former local point guard as well. People will know his name. And I think what Hopkins needed to do is he needed to get guys that were right for his system, much like what happened when he first came to UW. He had Matisse, he had David Crisp, he had Noah Dickerson, he had Dom Green as a sharpshooter. He had every single guy had their role. The last couple of years, that has not been the case. It was Isaiah and Jaden. And then you have Quade running the point, and then Quade goes out for half a season, and then he comes back this year, and now you have Jamal Bay hitting, but nobody else is hitting. So it was kind of like he had gotten away. He'd kind of lost what had gotten into the success that he had early in Washington, and now he knew what he had to go do. He addressed it. He got 2 coaches who will actually help in Wyking Jones and Quincy Pondexter. And I think he might actually be making one more addition to the program in a non-coaching but coaching role. That'll kind of make it even stronger. And I think that he's pushing all the right buttons. And I think, you still got to go prove it on the court. But if you look back and you compare the 17, 18, and 18, 19 team to what could be the roster this fall in 2021, 22, it's very similar in the kind of way it's being designed. And I think, Hopkins, again, that's what I've been saying for a while now. That Hopkins knew what he needed to do, and he just kind of had to suffer this, kind of 18-month stretch. And just, Cameron Dollar came out and said he was done before the year started. And, you got to wonder how much that's going to have an impact on a team that goes 5 and whatever, and then Dave Rice left the program. And so I think it was kind of like a long time coming. And now, the payoff is going to be when Hop gets him back to the tournament. And that's, again, what he has to do.
Yeah, okay. That's what he's got to do. Well, what he's got to do is looking at, so the Pac-12 announced the early conference games. And again, we're talking conference. So it looks like the first game is Thursday, December the 2nd. And that is at, Arizona. I mean, that,
that's when the Washington.
Say that again.
Because I was going to say, I think that's when Washington should win. And as crazy as that sounds, it just doesn't seem like. Because Sean Miller's no longer in Arizona, so that one finally happened. So I think there's an opening there. There's no true clear UCLA should be pretty good this coming season. Oregon will probably be pretty decent. But other than that, there's plenty of room for Washington to get its act together and prove that they're one of the better teams in the conference.
Stanford? You gonna leave out Stanford?
Well, without Davis, like there's a lot of teams that are below in that 3 through 7 range. Stanford, Washington State, even Oregon State. I mean, like there's a lot of teams right there that could, there's no one clear cut, in my opinion, but I think there's a ton of very good teams that it just depends on how it shakes out.
Yeah, and then they try to make the sense of this release of the schedule. I was like, all right, so what are you saying? In the end, Washington misses out. They miss out Arizona State on the road. They play them at home because as you did, I'm like, okay, home games: Arizona, Colorado, Oregon, OSU, Stanford, UCLA. So they go to USC, and it was just interesting on the schedule. The UW goes to USC and doesn't host USC here, and they host ASU, but they don't go to ASU. I guess that's 11 teams, right? That's just the oddity that's there.
The Pac-12 is undefeated in the way it creates itself.
There you go. There you go again. All right, I'm going to leave that alone. See? But if it wasn't for the – never mind. So does he have to win?
Yeah. I think it's not has to win because I think obviously that's kind of the obvious elephant in the room. But I think that there is a legitimate expectation he should win. Unlike last year where coming into the season, it was like, well, what do they really got? Like there wasn't a ton there. You hadn't seen Jamal Bay emerge. Quade was a question. Nas left before the season started, like less than a month before the season started. So like last year was just kind of a gong show, to put it bluntly. So I think this year there's at least a semblance of direction, a plan, organization. Everyone's on the same page. Everyone's invested. Can't stress that enough. Everyone actually wants to be on the bench. Like it's very small things like that end up going a long way and helping the overall health of the program moving forward. And so I think that with Y King being a former recent coach in the Pac-12, that'll be huge for Hop because, Dave Rice was a coach at UNLV and Cameron Dollar was a coach at Seattle U. Neither of those are Cal. So, and he also coached with Rick Pitino. So he's a long-time assistant coach who's been there, done it, national recruit, who's already paying off. He's already paying off on the road. So you add that with what I'm curious about is Quincy. And I don't question. I think it's a fantastic hire. I think, from what I've heard that he's all in on diving into coaching and wants to get into so this is his first step into being a coach. And so I think that his energy, I'm just curious how it's going to impact. I'm kind of curious to see how it evolves and how he grows as a coach. Because I think it's a very good hire. But again, to be fair, you can hire a former player, but what does that do? Right? Will Conway is a former player. So Hopkins never played in the NBA. So, like, there's a lot of, what does it actually mean? And I think it can be beneficial. I'm just curious to see how it, I don't want to say metastasizes because it sounds negative, but like how it naturally grows throughout the season.
Good point. I mean, what do you see? What was his thinking?
I think his right. Well, I think his thinking was he knew that because I think that Hopkins knew going into this offseason he was going to bring back Conroy. He brought back Conroy. That wasn't going. I think he knew what he was going to have coming back, but that's why when you lost Marcus Sahonis, Raekwon Battle, all these other guys, it was like, wait, wow, Eric Stevenson, one and done. All these other guys that are coming in and then transferring out. It's like, wait, is Hop really at control of the program? It's like, it's fine to lose guys as long as you can actually replace them. And this year, he overhauled the roster. Last year, it was just Cole Bajema and Eric Stevenson. It was like, okay, well, maybe this will work, maybe it won't. And then they never played. Look how long it took Eric Stevenson to get
I'm going to stop you. I was thinking more in terms of the assistant coach. What do you think his thoughts were in terms of, I mean, those are a good point. I don't mean to shut you down, but I'd love to hear, because you brought up some good points as we wind down, because like you said, how does Quincy Pondexter fit in? Because, each coaching staff has a former coach, you usually get that guy and Will Conroy. So you already have that. You have an X's and O's guy. So what do you think in the 30 seconds we got? How do you see Pondexter?
I think he's a guy who has done it, right? But he was versatile. He was a guard forward. So I think it's that kind of unique blend of, hey, take your skills as a former player, what you know about the game, because he's very edgy, high basketball IQ, and I think that's what Hopkins saw in him. He knew Quincy had a high basketball IQ, and you can maximize that as a coach. You can't teach high basketball IQ. You either have it or you don't.
Interesting. Yeah, positional coach. There's always room for that, especially. I think that's how Will Conroy evolved. So, this, like you said, this is the beginning, and if Pondexter, the beginning of his coaching career, and if he's willing to learn from this is what I did, this is how you do it, and then the X's and the O's, it could be the beginning of a great coaching career. All right, we are up against it. So that's it. Thanks for hopping on. I'm glad you stopped your remodel for us. We appreciate you. We'll be back next week. Lars Hanson, the Dawg Report. Next afternoon with Monique. I'm Mazvita Maraire, Seattle Sports Weekly, and we'll see you next week.
Rainier Avenue Radio.world is your 24